welcome back to the Youngs podcast. I am Shay,
And I'm Dwight.
and I probably look crazy right now. I don't have any makeup on, and I feel like my eyes look a little heavy.
No, you look beautiful. I
Thank
think
you.
it's just sleepiness, right?
Very, very much so. Our son has been in this like spell of waking up every single night at 3 a.m., and I don't know what's going on. I think he's going through another round of teething,
Yes.
and there's been no sleep in our house once again. So, perks of being, parents, huh?
Yeah. He's and he's also drooling everywhere. When he had upset stomach last week, throwing up everywhere,
Mm.
pooping
It
everywhere.
yes, it's been a mess in our house.
Yeah, it definitely has. We've had a busy 2 weeks now?
A busy 2 weeks. Our weekends have been jam packed. We had a surprise birthday party for your dad, and that was a success. It was a
Yes.
throwback theme. It was Soul Train,
Yes.
Peace, Love, and Soul, right? I believe it was.
Yes.
And Dwight had a wig on.
Yeah, I did.
It was so much fun just seeing your dad's expression and him truly, truly, truly being surprised. Like it was great. What was your thoughts?
I thought it was great. It
Yeah,
was fantastic. I was so happy for him. His reaction was priceless.
priceless. Yeah.
Priceless. He was speechless and he just kind of just broke down
Which is
and
what we thought he was gonna do anyway.
yeah, yeah,
Was
we
break down.
exactly. There was a lot of planning that went into it. I'm
Yes.
so thankful for everyone who participated, all the family members who participated.
hmm It
My
was a good
sister,
turnout.
yeah,
It was a good
yeah,
turnout.
yeah, my sister who initially came up with the idea, and her and I discussed it, and then my aunts
Yeah.
and
Everyone kind of
my
jumped in.
brother, and of course you, and
Yeah.
all of us, cousin
Yeah.
Shonda,
Mhm.
some of my other cousins, Shaniqua.
Yeah. You
I
can't
don't want to
name
leave anybody
everybody.
out. I
Yeah.
can't want to leave
Yeah.
anybody out, but it was a success, and I was very happy for my dad. And it was a fun time. We had lip syncing, karaoke.
Yeah, we had a couple guest stars come by. It was definitely fun. It was a bunch of family time, loving on each other, enjoying each other, and I am excited for the next party because it's always fun.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I think they really enjoyed, especially the lip syncing, and my other sister was the MC,
Yeah.
and so she did a wonderful job with that.
Yes, she did.
So
It was so much fun.
it was great.
Yeah. So something I want to dive into today on this episode is something that I think a lot of people struggle with. I want to talk about love language. I think it's very important to understand what love language is and what everyone's like definition of love language is, especially when you're in a relationship with someone. Like, what is love language?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's missed a lot,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
hmm
and having been in relationships previously, and you as well. I think, well, at least I can speak for myself. I think that I didn't really grasp the whole love language thing.
Yeah, I didn't grasp it either until we got together because it just wasn't like something that was spoken about. Wasn't something where I was like, okay, let me figure out what this person's love language is. I don't know if that makes sense, but it
Yeah,
was just never like in the forefront of my mind.
right.
But with us being together, it's like I want to know what your love language is
Yeah,
so that I can make sure I'm all of that because not everyone's love language is the same. Not everyone's
right.
love language is equal and sometimes there's some adjustments that need to be made for you guys to kind of fit together perfectly.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think if it's so much of an adjustment that it's either a lack of effort or it just feels like it's not doable for the other person, or they just really don't try, and if they try, it's short term.
Yes.
Maybe the love languages aren't a match. Maybe they just don't mesh together well
Mm,
because your idea of love language is way totally different than
yeah.
your partner's idea of love language.
Yeah. I feel like for some reason, I think like nowadays it's rare to find two people that are actually willing to have the conversation of like what each other's love language is. But then at the same time, I feel like nowadays nobody's willing to put in that effort because nowadays it's kind of like, okay, well, we not getting along and you clearly don't understand me and what my love language is, so I'm just going to move on to the next. It's not like that effort that's put in,
Yeah.
you know? Like for me, I feel like my love language is like time, affection, and like touchy feely, you know? And I feel like we
Yeah.
blame with that. Like
We do.
we never really had a conversation about like, okay, babe, what's your love language? Because I feel like it just flowed naturally. Like I'm a person that loves to be touched and just like random acts of like, okay, let me come kiss you or let me come up behind you when you're cooking or
Yeah.
something like that, and you do that.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
can't walk by me without grabbing my butt. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like little acts of love. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it goes without.
Goes without saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that, and it has to be if your love languages really, really mesh
Mhm.
together well. It seems like it just flows without it being any conversation,
Mhm.
without it being any type of real effort, because
Yeah.
it's just kind of natural, just kind of organic, and you kind of know what your partner likes and
Mhm.
wants, and
Mhm.
vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's not a whole lot of dialogue when it comes to
No.
that. It's not a whole lot of
It doesn't have to be like a lot of conversation and a lot of things that go into it because it's like authentic. It's like, okay, so I love this person and how can I show this person acts of love without going above, and just being extra every single time, and not saying that that's
yeah.
not okay, but like sometimes it's a little too much, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So it's like,
definitely.
okay, if I know you've had a long day at work or whatever the case may be, I may know that your love language is as soon as you walk through the door getting a big hug and a big kiss,
Yeah.
you know? It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And
I,
it's not just intimacy.
right. Right. I think it's a balance.
Yeah.
It's an even balance, and it's the right time
Mhm.
for everything in the right place.
Yeah.
And like you said, you had a long day. Sometimes you come home and maybe things need to be changed just a little bit in order to get your partner over that hump, and then kind of can resume what your normal procedure is, or
Mhm.
your normalcy when you come through the door initially without a long day.
Yeah. I feel like love language is also about communication because I feel like so what we've been trying to do in our relationship, Dwight is in law enforcement and sometimes, his days are extremely heavy and extremely busy,
Yeah.
and sometimes my days are the same, maybe not to the extent of yours. Mine's is always more so mental because I'm constantly using my brain.
Yeah.
So what we've been trying to do is if we get off of work and we know each other's had a long day or whatever the case may be, we may check in with each other and say, okay, babe, what percent are you at? And
Yeah.
we've found the video, what was it on Instagram, right? When you found it.
Yeah.
And a woman was talking about how relationships and marriage are not 50-50, and talking about this skill that relationships should try. And at the end of the day, when you guys get home, you guys have a brief check in and ask each other, what percent are you at? So you know what percent your partner's at, your partner knows what percent you're at, and then you guys can kind of pick up where each other's kind of lacking and know how to really navigate through the evening until you guys can even back out. And I feel like that's something it was great advice,
Yeah.
and I feel
Definitely.
like it's worked for us, and it's just another level of love language. And like I said, I feel like love language goes back to communication because if I don't know how you're feeling or what's going through your mind or what your love language is exactly, then I'm going to miss all the check boxes.
Yeah. And that goes with it just being not necessarily day to day, but sometimes it is day to day.
Mhm.
Your love language can be a particular, I guess, way overall, but sometimes from day to day it has to be tweaked,
Yeah.
especially based on what you said.
Yeah, especially given like if you know your partner may have a crazy career like law enforcement and you don't know what your partner may deal with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, they may, bring you in on some things, but you don't know everything. You don't know every little email, every little phone call, or whatever the case may be. You just know, okay, my partner doesn't sound the same or my partner's had a long day. What percent are you at?
Right.
You know? And like What do you think your version, or what is your love language? Like, what do you perceive as love language for you?
For me, it's touching, it's affection,
Mhm.
it's, I would say, a certain kind of communication,
Mhm.
that comes with positivity,
Mhm.
respect, um, just those things, and it changes from day to day slightly, just depending on
Yeah.
what has transpired during the day, and obviously intimacy is part of that. You know, one of my favorites, but
Oh my goodness.
yeah, but all in all those things are part of my love language.
Mhm.
And I think us spending time together, quality time together, and sometimes just chilling and just kind of
Mhm.
cuddling and watching a movie or something like that.
Yes.
That's
That's
high on my
amazing.
list.
Yes. Like, for me, like, we don't have to go out on a date. You don't have to spend money. Like, just say, babe, come over here and get on the couch and cuddle with me. Like, I'm good, you know? And I think our love language, in my opinion, has always blended very well.
Yeah,
Um, and I feel like we've always just kind of known what each other needs, because even if you're dealing with something mentally or emotional or vice versa, like you said, it changes day by day. So there's days for me where I'm just like, I need that extra affection, that extra touchy feely.
yeah,
And I think the same thing goes for you. And I think it's about understanding, just like we're saying, understanding the love language so you can read the signs for when your partner needs more and what they need more of. If you understand, okay, well, my partner said his love language is quality time. Okay, so how can I put that in our day because he's had a bad day, or he may need an extra quality time because he's got bad news today, or whatever the case may be, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I agree, and I think the common mistake is someone forcing their love language on someone else.
Mhm.
For example, let's say you're in a relationship where someone else's love language is food,
Yeah.
right? And so they believe by giving you the amount of food that they may want or cooking you particular food on certain days or day in and day out or whatever,
That's the only
that
thing.
that's the only thing. And because it's their love language, they're trying to force that on you and say, all right, well, this is mine and this is what makes me happy,
Yeah.
so this has to make this other person happy.
Yeah.
And when you try to communicate with them that this isn't my love language, they're not understanding of that.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of gear your love language in a way where you can still be happy with what you want to be happy with as far as love language, but you have to understand that it has to be reciprocal.
Mhm.
Your partner has to be happy with it as well.
Yeah.
So I just think it's an even balance, and both parties involved in a relationship should be satisfied when it comes to love language.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I agree with that. I feel like that's a big mistake, is when someone tries to force the other person to be the way they want them, like the way they think that person needs to be based off of how they are.
Yeah,
And love language sometimes may mean compromising,
yeah,
if his love language is going to the gym and I'm not really into going to the gym, but I know my love language is quality time. Okay, we both go to the gym. Because I'm getting my quality time and you're getting to work out. Like,
yeah,
sometimes it just comes with compromise, but also it goes back to communicating, because just say what you want, or say what you
yeah,
are wanting to receive back. And then if that person can't give it to you, then that person can't give it to you. You can save yourself a lot of time wasted,
yeah.
energy wasted,
Not
by just
arguing.
having a conversation like, okay, this is what I want. This is
Yeah,
what I want to receive because this is what I give. If you can't give it to me, then okay, let's figure something else out. Can we compromise? Okay, we can't, or we can. Let's figure something else out. So it just all comes back to communication. And you know, I think love language is important in a relationship, and understanding your partner's needs is very important in a relationship. And I feel like all those things kind of like branch off each other. It's kind of like that ripple effect.
yeah,
If
definitely.
one area is kind of like lagging behind, and those other areas lag behind in the same, manner,
Yeah.
because they all kind of bounce off each other, you know. You can't not know my love language but expect me to be satisfied in bed. You can't
Right.
not know my love language but expect me to come home and feel like I'm received or wanted if you're not understanding what I need when I walk in the door.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I feel like it all goes hand in hand.
It does. It definitely does. I think with us, as long as we've been together, I think our love language has been, like I said before, something that doesn't really have to be talked about, or
Hmm.
we really haven't said anything to each other.
No,
It just kind of just
came
flowed,
naturally.
and it
Yeah.
came naturally, and it was just organic. It's just like, okay, this is my love language. Hey, funny thing is, that's my love language
Yeah,
too,
it's the
and
same
we just
thing.
do it.
Uh-huh. And like you said, I mean, it changes from day to day because of
Yeah,
situations we may go through or, whatever.
right.
But like you said, for the most part, we've never had a conversation about it. It always just flows.
Hmm.
And, we kind of walk through the house complimenting each other or brushing up against each other or whatever the case may be. Like, it's just something that flows naturally. And some people have it, some people don't. And I just don't believe that it's something that could be forced.
Right. It definitely can't be forced, but like you said earlier, it can be compromised.
Hmm.
So you can definitely, even if it doesn't come natural with you and your partner, you can definitely compromise. Like you said, your partner likes to work out, like
Hmm.
I do,
Hmm.
and you love quality time,
I mean, yeah, that's a
and
that's a
that's a
perfect
compromise.
yeah, it's a perfect example for us
It is.
because we are both into fitness and I feel like since I had our son, I've kind of struggled even though he'll be 1 in January. I feel like I've really struggled to get back onto like my journey of fitness the way I want to be.
Yeah.
And there's been days where I'm just like I'm feeling exhausted mentally or physically or whatever
Yeah.
because of whatever happened and I don't want to go, but I know this is our time together. Like we really enjoy each other's company when we're working out. Like it's just an overall great time and I'm like, but I want to be with him. I want to be right under him. I want to spend time with him. But I don't want to go to the gym, but okay, let me just go to the gym because I know he's going to go to the gym and that's the person I want to be under. So that's just a great comparison.
Yeah, I think so too,
Yeah.
and I do appreciate you compromising
Yeah.
with me. And just to be clear, we do that a lot.
Yeah, we do.
We do that a lot in order to spend quality time with each other. So we make a lot of compromises.
You do because a lot of the times you'd be like, babe, I really want to watch the show. And I'm like, yes, babe, we'll watch the show. We'll get things settled and we'll sit down. And not even 5 minutes into the show, I'm asleep. So
Yeah.
he makes a lot of compromises as well. And I
Mhm.
definitely appreciate that
I just
because,
turn it off, and
yeah.
then I wait
And
for
then
for
he'll
another
wait. And
time.
then the next time we'll try it again. And then 10 minutes into it, I go to sleep. And then 15 minutes into it, I go to sleep. So I give you an A for effort.
Yeah.
That's for sure because I'm quick to go to sleep on him. And I'd be like, babe, what happened? He'd be like, nothing. I turned it off. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's even like something with um, like before you and I got together, I used to binge watch shows like on Netflix or like I would just find these random series just to kind of keep me busy if I wasn't working.
Yeah.
And now that you and I have gone together, I sometimes feel like almost like I'm doing something wrong if I find a show that I like. And let's say I watch like the first couple minutes of it, I'll stop. And then I'll be like, babe, there's a show. Like, we should try to watch it. And you do the same thing.
Yeah.
And there's so many series that we have on our DVR that Dwight is seasons and seasons and seasons behind. And it's
Yes.
just because we're so used to doing it together. It's like when we don't do it together, it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
good. It feels like, okay, well, something's missing because you know? Like I watch things like we'd normally talk about it and he'd be like, babe, I know you don't like this series, so let me just go ahead and finish. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah.
said something because I'm not really into it, but you go ahead and watch it.
Yeah. And that's a big thing of what we do together. And
Mhm.
believe it or not, that's part of our love language
Yeah.
for the viewers out there. We watch movies together, like just about every movie together.
Mhm.
We watch just about every show
Every
together,
show, yeah.
like all that. So,
Mhm.
we compromise and make sure that we don't watch anything without the other one
Yeah.
unless we know for a fact, you know, the other one doesn't want to see it. Like
Yeah.
it's not much that Shay won't watch with me, but if
Mhm.
it's real scary or like
I
some
will not
vampire
watch it.
stuff or just some off the wall stuff, I've let her kind of sample it before, like the first episode, and I wait for her to tell me like, "Nah, babe, you do.
Yeah.
It's
Cuz
all
I'm
you."
always like, "Yeah, let's do this. Like I got this. You're right here. Everything's going to be fine." After the first episode, I'm like, "No, thank you. You can watch it. Not interested.
Yeah.
I'm good."
Now that rarely happens. That rarely
Yeah.
happens, but it does happen. And as far as like movies, most of all movies we
Yeah,
watch
we
together.
always watch together. It's majority of like the series, because
Yeah,
I feel like some of the series that I'm not into, or like the one series you wasn't really into,
yeah,
I'm just like, all right, I'll binge watch that at work. Like give me something to watch at work. And I think you're the same way. You just watch it at lunch.
yeah, yeah. I'm the exact same way.
Mhm.
Now, as far as going to the movies, I think that's part of our language too, because
Yes.
we love going to the movies. If not just to kind of cuddle
Yeah,
and
just to
eat
go
popcorn and just
and
lay
yeah, be
back and
laid up.
yeah. So that's always fun. And
Mhm.
then this past Friday,
Mhm.
we took Jordan to see the Marvels.
The Marvels.
So
That
that was
was
cool.
an okay movie.
Yeah, it was an okay movie. Just our experience going to the movies is always great.
It's always great.
The movies aren't always great, but our
Yeah,
experience is
our
always great.
experience of going and just having that time to just stop with everything else that's going on
Yeah,
outside of us and just kind of connect and just unwind is always a beautiful, beautiful experience. Like he said, some of the movies we watch are not, but outside of the movies itself, the experience is great.
yeah, definitely. And I think that's a prime example of us making sure we experience that language
Together.
together
Mhm.
because it was a point in time like we discussed about me being off that day
Mhm.
and possibly me just taking Jordan
Mhm.
and us just going,
Yeah.
but we elected to wait
Yeah.
so that Shay can go also, and we do that a lot, just so we all can be together and go, or just Shay and I can go,
Yeah.
depending on the movie or what have you. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a big part of our quality time,
Yeah.
which is part of our love language. So
Yeah. So I think, like we said, love language is definitely something that is very, very, very important. Get to know your partner, get to know what your partner's like do's and don'ts are when it comes to love language. And I feel like once you understand what your partner's needs are and wants are, I think you'll see a great improvement in your relationship. And do
definitely,
something like we talked about where you guys do like a daily check-in or a weekly check-in. Hey babe, what percentage are you at?
yeah,
Or even if you're not asked and you feel like you're not giving that full percent that you're supposed to give, you can always go to your partner and say, "Look, I feel like I'm at 50%. I feel like I'm at 40%. I'm not sure where you're at, but this is where I'm at." You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's just communicating how you feel, what you need, what you don't need, receiving everything your partner says and what they need and what they don't need. And I think it'll just help for a better relationship, help keep you guys on that same path of just communicating and understanding what each other needs, so there's no lack of, okay, well, you didn't do this and I really needed it. Well, how did I know? Because I can't read your brain.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice.
You have any advice for the podcasters or YouTube listeners?
I would just say focus more on your partner's love language
Hmm.
instead of your own.
Yeah.
And I think when you focus more on your partner's love language and they focus on yours, I think more gets accomplished
Yeah.
um, in your relationship as a whole. I
Hmm.
think too many times people focus on what they want, what their love language is, what they want from the other person, not realizing that's not your job.
Hmm.
Like your job in a relationship is to take care of the other person, it's to
Hmm.
support the other person, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about yourself and they're thinking about themselves, how are you gonna
Yeah.
express that love language to each other?
Yeah, and it's crazy that you bring that up because the book that I'm reading, I just read that today about understanding like the other person's emotions, being able to put your emotions aside, take your emotions out of it, and just think about that other person and how they feel and understanding them and making them feel heard and all that. So it's crazy that you bring that up.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely something that's very, very important, and it's my belief that relationship will go smoother when it comes to recognizing each other's love language,
Yeah.
because it becomes a daily routine. It becomes
Mm,
effortless
yeah.
if you do it
I
that way.
agree.
Yeah, but I would like to add that something that I didn't talk about the previous episode, which was our Veterans Day episode.
Mhm.
And we talked about military service. We talked about my military service in the Army. But what we didn't touch on is that it's actually a family tradition
Yeah.
where my dad served in the military. He served in the U.S. Army as well. And my grandfather, which is his dad, served in the military as well. So shout out to my dad, Dwight Mason.
White
And
Mason.
shout out to my grandfather, my late grandfather, Ned Mason.
Yeah.
So it's a family tradition passed down. And I just didn't want to not mention that.
Mhm.
And I, I've been very proud to follow in my father's footsteps
Yeah.
and my grandfather's footsteps. And I also had my grandfather on my mother's side. He
Mhm.
was in the military as well. He was in the U.S. Army as well. So
Mhm.
um,
So you
shout
were
out
like
to
surrounded by that.
yeah. So shout out to my other late grandfather. Um, we call him Pop Up Buddy,
Mhm.
but his real name is Hanson Young.
Mhm.
So shout out to him. And of course, I had some uncles,
Yeah.
like my uncle Buster Hazard, and some other uncles and cousins, and different individuals or
Yeah.
whatever that served in the army as well. So I didn't want to let the episode go by again without mentioning that, but it's a family tradition. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's good.
that's all I
Well, we want to shout out everyone who has been on this journey with us. We want to shout out to all you loyal people who come back every week to watch our podcast. We love you. We appreciate the support.
got.
Please do
Definitely.
not forget to share our YouTube channel with your friends, with your coworkers, whoever you want to share it with. Don't forget to like the videos. Don't forget, if you want to comment, you can comment. All positive vibes only.
Yes.
And don't forget to head over to our Instagram page. And our Instagram is at the Youngs Podcast. It's always linked in the description of our videos. And I think that's it.
That's it.
And we are gone. Peace.
Peace.